Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now it took only a few rounds for Canelo to get to Anvi Yildirim. It was just too much for him, and this is what we expected really anyway. This was supposed to be a new and improved Anvi Yildirim, but were we really expecting anything else other than the result that happened? Obviously, Yildirim was pulled out, and the fight was not allowed to continue. In the broad scheme of things, that was the right thing to do because there was nothing in it for Yildirim. He wasn't really landing any punches, nothing significant that would stop Canelo. And if you look at Canelo, he was in gear 1. He didn't even shift through the gears at all. He didn't need to because his level of opponent in front of him just didn't pull him to that stage. So Canelo just went through the motions, took it easy and landed the punches that were there for him to land. I mean, Anvi Yildirim probably would have been better going out on his shield, going for Canelo, actually trying to take something from the fight like he used to, because even in there when he fought Chris Eubank Jr., yes, he got stopped, but at least he had a go. In this fight, he was having a go, but it was a different kind of Anvi Yildirim. He was trying to be smart, he was trying to work to a game plan, but that was never going to work in there with Canelo. The one thing he could do was bring the heat. The one thing he could do was try and force something from Canelo, but in this kind of environment, if you stick to a game plan like that, then Canelo's just going to beat him up and stop him. I mean, as I said, I don't think Canelo even came out of gear 1. There was much more that Canelo could do, but he didn't even show it because he didn't need to. This was a very pedestrian fight for Canelo to take. I mean, Canelo was mandated to fight him by the WBC for whatever reason, and it's not his fault. I mean, look at Canelo's resume over his past 5 or 6 fights. All of them have been top 10 or top level contenders in their respected weight class, so you cannot be disrespectful to Canelo for taking this fight. It was mandated. The next fight for him though will be Billy Joe Saunders. Now that is a mega fight because many do believe that Billy Joe Saunders is the one to beat Canelo. If he trains correctly, if he brings the right game plan, because he does actually have the boxing ability to execute a game plan that could beat Canelo. Anvi Yildirim never did. That is the problem with this kind of style he came in with. And he's not going to find it easy getting another fight because based off of that performance, what did he show in the Canelo fight that makes you want to see him in other fights? I know that sounds a bit disrespectful, but still, he needed to show a little bit more. And he came in with a game plan. I don't blame Anvi Yildirim because what he was trying to do was be new, be improved, and he was looking to try different things, to tuck up, to get close to Canelo, to smother his work. But Canelo is just too skillful. He knew when to stick there with him and work down to the body. Then those hooks as well to try and counter, but then to step back as well. Allow Anvi Yildirim to come forwards and walk on to the punches. And even when Anvi Yildirim decided to throw, that was when Canelo got through the guard and dropped him. So that kind of made Anvi Yildirim not want to throw punches from that moment forwards. So he just pressured him, but didn't really throw anything. So he was just walking on to the punches, to those uppercuts as well. At that point, probably the best thing to do is to pull the fighter out, because he was just sustaining punishment. And even when Anvi Yildirim went back to the corner after the second round, you could see on the corner cam in his eyes, there wasn't really much there. He didn't really want to be in there anymore. He knew that there was little he could do, and it was only going to be a matter of time from that moment forwards, because he did kind of just go back into his shell and just decide that, okay, I'm going to stick around for another round or two, and it was only just one more round, I believe. So there wasn't much resistance from Anvi Yildirim, but then again, we never really expected there to be anyway. The big fight we are waiting for, and the one that has been confirmed now, is a Billy Joe Saunders on May 8th. Now this is a big unification fight, and as I said previously, many do believe that Billy Joe Saunders is the one that has all it takes to beat Canelo. The one big thing about that is, when have we seen Billy Joe Saunders show that kind of performance? One thing we can take from Billy Joe Saunders is he does raise his game to represent the opponent in front of him. Can he do that against Canelo? He done it against Andy Lee. He done it also against David Lemieux. Even though against David Lemieux, he made Lemieux look ordinary, and Andy Lee, great fighter, but still, he got the victory. Can he bridge that gap between a world level and elite level? I do believe that Billy Joe Saunders has all it takes to give Canelo problems. It's just whether he has enough to beat him, because Canelo does continuously raise his bar. Talking about that Anvi Yildirim fight, as I said, he didn't really come out of first gear, but there was much more there for Canelo. So no matter what Yildirim done, there was always more that Canelo can give. We've seen that continuously throughout his fights. There's always an answer to the questions asked by his opponent, and that is the big problem for Billy Joe Saunders. Is he able to adjust in this fight? Is he able to look at things that aren't working and adjust as he goes through? Because Canelo can, and that is going to be the big issue if he is unable to himself, because Canelo will adjust as the fight goes on. If things don't work, he will change it, and Billy Joe Saunders has shown that he can do that in patches, but never when he's been in there with an elite level fighter like Canelo, because he's never faced an elite level fighter. Many fighters haven't. I do admire Billy Joe Saunders though for going for this fight. He is one of those fighters who does raise his game to the level of opponent who is in front of him. Again, the big question is going to be, is that one step too far? I mean, even if it is, we're going to see a great fight on May 8th. I think that in this current division, there are two people who have any kind of chance of getting close to beating Canelo: Billy Joe Saunders and David Benavidez. Caleb Plant has a chance, but not as close as these two. I believe that those two are the ones who can come closest. I'm not saying they can beat him, but they can come closest. And all that does is makes for a great fight for the fans to watch. Whether you believe Billy Joe Saunders can do it or not, he's still going to go over there and give it a damn good try. This is what Billy Joe Saunders had to say about his chances in a Canelo fight. I believe I am the only one with the footwork, know-how, skill set, mindset and brain to unlock the door in a Canelo. He's the main man in the sport. You have to give him respect. He's ducked no one. He's beaten good names, but nobody is unbeatable. Now, that is a good sentiment from Billy Joe Saunders, giving Canelo the respect he deserves, but also saying that no one is unbeatable. There have been issues for Canelo in the past with pure boxers, but he has managed to overcome them still. Canelo has improved a lot. He's not the same fighter he was 3 or 4 years ago. He has continued to improve, which shows just how much he is committed to the sport of boxing and trying to learn new things, because many fighters get to a stage where they get the knockouts, they get the victories over high level opponents, then they start to think that they're the best, so they don't need to improve. Canelo has never thought like that. He's continued to improve, and his team as well have encouraged him to keep getting better. That is the right kind of mindset to stay at the top, because it's not easy being the number one and having all these other guys chasing him. Everyone wants the Canelo fight because it's a big payday, because it's a big opportunity. Like Billy Joe Saunders, this is the biggest fight of his life. So the motivation for Billy Joe Saunders, you would believe, might be more than Canelo's to beat Billy Joe Saunders, because Billy Joe Saunders hasn't been in this elite level fight before, whereas Canelo has been continuously taking those kind of fights. So when you look at it from that perspective, this is another mega fight for Canelo, but this is the biggest fight of Billy Joe Saunders' life. So if you look at it from that point of view, Canelo does extremely well to continuously grind out these kind of performances in there with elite level fighters and still get the victory. And that comes purely from him being able to humble himself and get back in the gym straight away, preparing for his next fight. No one is unbeatable. Billy Joe Saunders has explained that, but Canelo knows that. So that is why he prepares diligently for each and every opponent that steps through the ropes to get in the ring with him. And it will be no different on May 8th against Billy Joe Saunders. Can he do it? Can he not? Regardless of that, we're going to see a great fight on that date. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.